witch is so unique.
The gift of witchcraft.
I was able to see, hear, and communicate with spirits.
A very personal relationship between a person and spirit. Carnal lust and fun things like that.
Working with different energies with spirits and communicating.
Creating magic.
Powerful ritual and powerful spell. She's actually sticking me in the cult.
The role of the witch is to make change.
Blessed be, y'all. Blessed be. People ask me like, okay, I'm a witch and I don't know what to do.
20 years ago, 3 young friends realized they were witches.
They scattered to different parts of the world following magic and spirit.
Now, they're back in their hometown to share what they've learned.
Welcome to That Witch Life podcast, your home for living as a witch in today's world.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to That Witch Life podcast. I am your host today. I'm Courtney.
And I am your co-host today, Hillary.
And I'm Kanani.
Who is not co-hosting. She's just here, apparently.
I'm just here. I am just barely
You're
here.
like, I'm barely here.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, before Hillary got on, Kanani was running through the litany of all the shit that kept her out of the house today. And she's like, I was only home for 2 hours, which that's
Kanani in total. That's in 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 20 minutes here. Like in total, I have spent 2 hours in my own house, not running errands. And it's been bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a crazy day.
Yeah. The bananas is contagious because just this morning, my daughter stood up in her crib by herself.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
Really?
exciting.
Yes, she did. She's not even fully crawling yet, but yet she's figured out how to stand.
Holy crap. That's amazing.
Yes. What happened was I was reading for a tarot client and I was reading in the dining room because my office area is right outside the nursery and she was trying to go down for a nap. My husband's on the last part of his paternity leave and I'm sitting there reading for this woman and out of the corner of my eye, I see him looking at the monitor and then he breaks into a run. And I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, and because it's a tarot reading, I can't really I just have to trust that if this is a situation in which we need to go to the emergency room, he will come and interrupt me and go. But I never know. When my husband's running through the house, it could mean an emergency or it could mean that, his ADHD meds are, I should take that out. It could mean that there's an emergency or it could mean that he's just really hungry and his blood sugar has crashed. I really have I have really no clue. Anyway, after the reading, I go upstairs and it's just chaos in the nursery. My husband's digging through the closet. The baby's sitting on the floor looking very proud of herself. He's like, yeah, she can stand up now. She was about to throw herself out of the crib. So I had to run upstairs and get her out. And she was so proud of herself.
I was going to say, that's the fun part of when they start to stand up in the crib is now they can throw themselves out of said crib. So are you going to drop it now?
Oh, it's already been done. He and then he also had to move the baby monitor because she figured it out where it was and was starting to pull on it. And it was like, okay, so all the things, and that's happening. But we do have a wonderful, very calming, centering, and extraordinary episode because we have the return of Gina Breedlove, who will be talking with us about sound healing. Just being in Gina's presence is just an absolute
I know, it's
balm.
really amazing.
I need that
Gina
so bad right now.
Balm to the soul and the nervous system. Kanani, I don't think you were with us when we interviewed her last year. I think that was an episode you missed.
I feel like it might have been.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was,
I saw sound healing and I was like, well, maybe this will help me calm my ass down so I can sleep tonight.
I mean, if anybody can calm your ass down, it's Gina Breedlove. Yeah, because she's extraordinary. Well, she's been a friend of me and Hillary for a very long time, and we worked with her at a number. Oh, yeah. I forgot to make the announcement that I left my job last week. I mean, you guys knew that, but
crazy. Epic.
Yeah. I mean, for the 5 people that I'm Facebook friends with, because I've pretty much never used Facebook anymore. I was, I made the announcement that, hey, I left Auburn Seminary, which is how I met Gina Breedlove. So it's very strange. Now I'm a full-time tarot reader and it's awesome.
Tell people where they can find you, Courtney.
They can find me at CourtneyAWeber.com. Oh my God, look at Kanani helping me self-promote. This is such a weird world that we're in. Usually it's vice versa.
I'm like, I will never read one of your books, but I will promote the shit out of you and brag about you and promote you from day one. That is where I will always have your back, is I will shamelessly promote you to anyone who will listen and help you promote yourself. It's what I do.
I have two theories as to why you don't read my books. One, it's possible that you never actually learned to read, so that's why you just like, that's why
Valid.
It's fair.
Yeah. And
Valid
two,
assumption.
I'm afraid that you're not going to be able to sleep at night thinking that I might actually know something. And that's going to just shake your world too much.
That's also part of it.
I think you ruined it and solidified it when you wrote that blog and I reposted it, not knowing it was your blog.
That shit
and
is
then you
so
gave me
fucking I'll never
right, and then you
stop.
gave me so much shit about it that I was like, never again.
I will never stop laughing about that because I'll never stop finding that it was so fucking funny because you never read the books and then you're like, oh my God, you should read this blog.
This blog is so funny. Well, then I guess it does prove that
so
Kanani does read, or that she can read. She just won't read my stuff because she is afraid that she's going to be like, oh shit, Courtney knows something and now I don't know what to do with it.
I already know you know all the things. That's
I don't know all the things. That is
you're the knower of the things.
Well, and like, it's funny because like when you are, for instance, me and you have ADHD, reading a book is like, you probably retain like 30% of what you read, maybe on a good day. So like, it's fun because if I like a book, I will read it again and it's like a whole new experience. So I have to like, when I read books, I have to like look at a chapter and read a section like it's its own book because my brain will just like, I'm a quick reader, but like at some point my brain checks out and then I'm like, oh my God, I've just read like 15 pages and I have no idea what any of it said. Like zero.
I don't know if I have ADHD, but I will say that the amount that I'm on my phone, because I use it for work, I have 7 different emails on my phone that I get email messages for all the time. I do work from my phone. I do everything virtually from my phone and I'm constantly engaged with something that I, at this point, do struggle to sit down and try and do something. And I'm finding that it started with reading, just to sit and read, got really hard. And part of it is I know I need to up my glasses prescription because now it'll also start to give me a headache. But I'm noticing it's moving to other things. Like even the idea of sitting to craft feels like stressful. Like I need more information. I need more overload than that. So I'm trying to
have you thought
maybe
about
work in some meditation to calm my brain down?
Kanani, what have you thought about trying audiobooks that you could like listen to while you're cleaning or driving or cooking or something like that?
I have done that, but kind of like what Hillary said, I feel like my brain does that too, where I'll be listening and I'll be really engaged and I'll be processing it. And then all of a sudden it just becomes la, 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 la,
yeah,
and I'm no longer like retaining anything that I'm being told.
Yeah, I feel like
and so I'll re-listen to the same parts. Like over and over again.
So what? I mean, there's some podcasts that I'll listen to numerous times.
And I think like sometimes with audiobooks too, it's like, you know, sometimes I'll be really engaged and able to listen to it. And then if I realize I'm in a headspace where I'm not listening to shit that's happening, then I'll just pause it, put on some music and come back to it. I find it's like easier for me to do audiobooks like in the morning when I'm like making breakfast or something that is like, I don't have to think too much about. Like I know what I'm doing. Like it's not hard to make toast, you know, like I'm going through the paces. So, but yeah. Also,
so
get your eyes checked because sometimes the problem is like if you're me, one of my eyes is a totally different prescription than the other one. And so like I left my glasses in a cab when I was on my way to New York. And I got them back, thankfully, because it was an Uber from my house to the airport. So I was able to get them back, thankfully. But while I was there, I had to get just regular readers, right? Because I was like, I can't read without them, like, right?
Yeah.
And it fucked my shit up because it was not the right.
No.
It was like, it was better than not having it. But like, it gave me headaches because my eyes weren't like, you know, they're totally different prescriptions. One has astigmatism, one doesn't.
I have just readers and I have 1.5 times magnification. And the eye doctor had said previously, because I actually have okay vision, but I need readers. And they were saying, okay, when these stop working, go to 1.75.
Yeah.
And I need to do that. And I just, for whatever reason, have fought doing
Yeah.
that, but
There's-
I need to do it. When I was
You know,
this
I
is
just-
so embarrassing. When I was in New Orleans, I couldn't always read the menus because not only it's not just the font, but like it was like dark and cute, and moody,
Oh, yeah.
right, lighting. And so between the dark, moody lighting and the font,
Yeah.
I literally had to have my friend who was with me. She had to read me the menu.
Have
Like,
them
this is so embarrassing, but I'm so old.
have them check because like I have a thing where like, well, one, my eyes are different prescriptions, but also sometimes I was like, hey, like I used to be able to read relatively okay with my glasses, but now like my ability to read has gotten worse. And I was like, my God, it's just like, I felt like it happened overnight. Is there something wrong with my eyes? And the doctor was like, you're in your 40s. It's basically like could happen at any time.
Welcome to the club.
So,
but you know what? I have had garbage eyesight since I was 8 years old. So while everybody else, their eyes are falling apart around them, I'm like, this is how I have lived since I was a kid. I am literally, if not legally blind without my glasses, like barely. You know, when I take my glasses off, I can't see your faces anymore on the screen. That's how bad it is. Like there's nothing. There's just these two very Caucasian ovals that I'm looking at that are nodding, I think.
yeah,
I
like
don't know.
I can see normal
Yeah.
stuff, but I've always been farsighted. I've always been able to see distance, but not up close, like ever since I was young. So like my distance vision as I've gotten older has gotten a little bit worse, but is roughly the same. But I swear to God, I cannot read at all. I had to take a photo of a pill bottle and zoom in on it so I could read what it said because I was just like, I was like,
God,
well,
see, this is
what
my
I'm doing. I
life.
take
This is what
photos and
I've
I
always
zoom.
had. I've always had this. So I'm just, I'm, y'all just need to catch up with me. I'm fine. This is where I feel like
Well,
everybody
since-
else is aging and I'm not, because the things people have complained about, I have been living with like an old lady since I was 8 years old.
You've already been doing it.
I've already been there. Yeah. No, I've had teardrop shaped
since
boobs
you
my
made
entire life. Yeah. So everyone's like,
Since
oh,
you made
Martha's
your
having boobs. I'm like,
job
mine have always done
announcement.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Since you've made your job announcements, I will go ahead and announce that my divorce, I know that I had announced that I had separated from my husband and was getting divorced. The divorce is now officially legally final.
All right.
Yes.
You,
Congratulations.
Beyonce. All the single ladies, all the single ladies.
I will say that it is so much more anticlimactic. This is what I like saying. Ready? Than the first time. Because it's very charming. The first time I got divorced, I was flat out, even though I had already, by the time all the paperwork was final, we were both moved on into new relationships and we both had new significance. So there was no desire to reconcile or reconnect or any of that kind of stuff. We were both fine and we were both happy, but I was still like devastated. It felt like this big chapter had ended. And there was this finality and this closure. And I remember we had at that time had to go to the court and like stand before the judge and say, yes, we wish for this. While we were literally, it was probably too personal to share, but we were literally holding hands in front of the judge while we're asking for divorce and I'm crying. And the judge is looking at us like, are you sure? Like totally confused.
Oh my God.
One more try.
We're just like, no, yeah, we want this divorce.
But we just need to
of course
hold
we
each other's-
did, but it felt really sad. And this last time, because it took a long time because there's a house and there's finances and there's children and things like that. Now, because there's children, it's like, we'll see you tomorrow. See you later. Like, when you have children with someone, they're
gotta record
for better or worse, they're never gone.
Take
right?
the kid
They're
to
never
dance.
gone.
Oh my God.
So it doesn't have the same bite to it, I feel like, than it did the first time. And I mean, I'm also not in my 20s. I'm much older. I'm older. I'm wiser, much more bitter. So, I have all that going for me. But so that was good news. It was good news just because it's the final end of a chapter, and it was all agreed upon. We filed jointly. There were no attorneys. It went as well as one could hope. So, but it has been finalized. So, yep, on to the next adventure.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Kanani. I was like texting you and
Honestly,
said,
congratulations. That's
I know.
huge.
I was just said, how was the divorce, Miss Taylor? And she's just
Right.
like,
So my mother, Kanani's mom, right? You know, nothing good's going to come after this. So she texts me when I told her, I'm like, hey, okay, paperwork's done. It's final. And she's like, oh, you know, how are you doing? I'm so happy. Congratulations. And then a couple hours go by and she texts me and she goes, so how many more husbands are there going to be? And I was just like, ladies,
Of course.
like
Of
seriously?
course.
You know, but she doesn't do it like
God.
immediately after. She waits a couple hours, right? And I know because her DNA runs through me that she wanted to text that right after the congratulations, but she waited. She waited.
Oh, for
And
sure.
instead of
She
waiting
was
20
probably
minutes
like,
or
nah,
days,
I don't want to say it. Yeah. She could only hold
right.
it on for
Instead of
so
like
long.
waiting a time, right, that maybe it would be, better received or like appropriate. She waited 2 hours was all she had. That's all she had in her.
I'm
2
surprised
hours.
she waited that long.
So am
love
I.
it.
So am
Well-
I. And it made me laugh so hard. I was just like, you suck so bad. I'm like,
Oh my God.
but it's so deserved. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. This is what I get for growing up, telling people that I wanted to be Elizabeth Taylor. I brought it on myself.
You also said you wanted to be Elvira, so now you're getting the best
I
of
know.
both
So maybe
worlds.
now it's my
It's
Elvira
true.
time. Can it be my Elvira time?
Yep.
Although I've
Yep.
kind of always lived in that time. So, well, and we also want to mention for our local listeners and local friends that we are actually going to be at a Winter Moon Bazaar
Yes.
the weekend after this episode comes out. It's December 2nd from 10 to 7, a Winter Moon Bazaar at the Expo Hall West. It's in Hillsborough at the Washington County Fairgrounds.
All right.
So I posted it on our Patreon page, Patreon Facebook page, and you can look it up on Facebook or whatnot, and we'll post it. But it's a Winter Moon Bazaar. There's going to be like 100 vendors. It's going to be huge. It's going to be so much fun. It looks fantastic. There's free parking, free admission. There's going to be a female Krampus, which I think
Amazing.
is awesome.
Yes.
I think that is awesome. Who's going to witness the enchanting allure of the winter moon. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff and fun people. And so come out and say
It's going to
hi.
be super awesome.
We love it when
Yes,
people
come hang
come
with
see us
us.
at these events.
Yeah, we get so excited when we get to meet people.
Oh my God, I have y'all's Christmas presents. I'm going to give it to you then. So,
Oh,
yay.
yeah, I have yours also.
Well, this is a shorter intro, but before we move on to our sponsors, I do want to raise a screaming goat in memoriam for a wonderful man who was one of our earliest supporters of the podcast, Rick Schauder of the Spokane Pagan community. He has flown me up to be with them twice now. Was just a wonderful community organizer, wonderful friend, wonderful priest, wonderful spouse to his beautiful wife, Debbie. And he was a great dad. And I believe he was a stepdad too. He was just a really wonderful, warm-hearted, supportive figure in his community and in our pagan community. And he has been listening to That Witch Life since the very beginning and was always incredibly very supportive. And he passed away as of this recording about a week ago. And so I've asked Kanani, and he loved the Screaming Goat gag. Like, he would always message me after Screaming Goats would appear on the show and tell me how much it made him happy. And I sent both him and his wife matching Screaming Goats after my last visit to them. So Nani, if you would do the honors of raising a screaming goat in memoriam for Rick.
Sweet.
Rick, you were a wonderful man, and
You were.
At your absence is deeply, deeply felt, and my greatest condolences and sympathies and love to his wife and to everybody up in the Spokane pagan community.
Yeah, big love
and this
to
big
everyone
love to
going
you
through
all.
this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
This has
knew
been
who we
difficult.
were before anyone knew who we were. Like, I remember hearing about him. He was
Yes.
like from the beginning.
From the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. He actually reached out to me when he was one of the people that actually listened to the podcast on the website, not even through like Apple Podcasts
Like
or
before we
anything.
even had it available. Yeah.
Before we had it available. And when we were getting our website upgraded and we were putting episodes directly onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and they weren't quite getting updated on the website yet, he reached out to me and was like, I noticed that I haven't seen any new episodes. Are you guys okay? I'm like, oh, we're fine. We're just technically inept. And he's like, yeah, I know. I can tell. But but just like sweet, sweet man, and missing him a lot. So, all right. Well, with that, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Sounds good.
Okay, Kachina Aurora fans, get ready because our friend Dawn Hunt has now launched a new, drumroll, tomato sauce. Magical marinara, roasted garlic, pomodoro. Holy shit.
We got to try it. I made this incredible pasta dish for my husband. I throw some beef sausage in there, just regular old stuff from the grocery store, topped it with this sauce, threw it on some gluten-free pasta because I have the celiac. My husband did not stop talking about this. I'm serious. The rest of the night was, oh my God, the sauce is so good. Oh my God, I am under Dawn's spell. Oh my God, I can't stop. I mean, the flavors sit with you. And like you just feel comforted and you feel loved and you really feel the magic that she puts in there and the high quality ingredients. I am actually serving that pasta dish with that sauce to my Italian mother-in-law when she's here next week. Okay, that is saying something, and I'm going to do it.
I mean, it's so true. I finally got my hands on a jar and it was the best. Like, I was like, wow, I don't even need to touch anything. This is perfection in a jar. I mean, honestly, I love everything Dawn does, but I also really lean into the Kachina Aurora infused olive oils, which are not only incredible to put on food, but they are also each crafted with magical intention. So you've got a really good, ready to go, delicious food, as well as your spell work.
If you haven't tried her coffee yet, you need to get on it because she has different ones for each of the seasons. Not only that, but she also has different brews for the dark moon, half moon, and full moon. These are whole bean coffees with different spectrums of darkness and strength. They're almost as dark as my soul. They are so, so good.
To bring your own practice into the kitchen, go to KachinaAurora.com ASAP and use code WitchLife to get 10% off. That's code WitchLife for 10% off.
Do it, witches, and thank you to Kachina Aurora for being an episode sponsor.
Literally everyone knows this podcast runs on blood, sweat, tears, and jasmine pearl tea. But now get ready, witches. Our beautiful friends at the Jasmine Pearl Tea Company have some new blends for this summer.
Oh my God. Seriously, everyone knows how obsessed I am with tea, and I am extra obsessed with Jasmine Pearl. Fortune's Fool, which is a pu'er tea for those looking for a more sophisticated tea, is insane. I am in love with it. Plus, it has pigs on the wrapper, which makes it extra amazing.
I need all of that tea.
They're insane. And everyone knows that coffee is my jam. One of the ways that you can get me to drink tea is when you have some sort of a mint tea. And the Northwest Mint is absolutely fantastic. It's something that you can make in a large brew and you can put in your fridge so that you can drink it cold during hot months. And it is absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, and also the blackberry fig, which can be enjoyed either hot or iced. I mean, it's the end of the summer. Iced tea is still the thing, but the nights are getting cooler. And so this is a really great one to have around during the transition from summer to autumn. Also, you've got the equinox. It's a great herbal for this coming month and the change in the seasons. And it contains herbs that can be sometimes beneficial for those of us with uteruses.
You really, really need to go check out these teas at thejasminepearl.com. Save 10% with coupon code WITCH2023. That's WITCH2023. And you get free shipping on orders over $35. So get those orders in.
Thank you so much to the Jasmine Pearl Tea Company for being an episode sponsor. So our
beloved Gina Breedlove is here with us tonight. And if you all missed our first interview with her, Gina Breedlove is a vocalist, composer, actor, and traditional sound healer from Brooklyn, New York. She created the program Vibration of Grace, Healing Through Sound, helping thousands of people worldwide rediscover and deepen their power. Gina's performance credits include the Lion King stage musical, and she also tours performing her own work. As a recording artist, Gina has created 3 original albums: Open Heart, Language of Light, and The Star. Gina, welcome back. Just as we were saying, I've missed you, and just seeing your beautiful
we're so
face.
excited to have you here.
Has just made me so happy.
Yes, it's wonderful to be here, and it's lovely to see you both as well. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
So tell us, it's been about a year. We had you on about talking about grief about this time last year. And now you've got this beautiful book out. In addition to all of these things, how have you been in the past year? How has this past year treated you?
I'm well, and I've been well. It's been so many things, writing the Vibration of Grace, took more than I ever anticipated. I mean, Courtney, you got several books in the world. I don't understand how folk do this more than once. Like, it required, I think if I had really understood what I was saying yes to, and that's actually not true because I answered to a higher authority, I would have done it anyway. But it was deeply and profoundly galvanizing. I took it. So I'm well. I'm good. I feel like in some ways I'm still like moving through and almost recovering and gathering myself from the ritual of channeling this book.
I bet.
Grief, moving grief through the body, rituals of moving grief and reclamation and honoring and loving yourself forward. And so the subject matter, because it's experiential, I had to bring in my own stories and talk about this journey was difficult. It was difficult to sift through and move through. And it just reminded me, as it reminds me often, that healing is a journey that we are on forever. And that there are some gorgeous wins, but you have to stay in your practices and your rituals to be embodied. It's almost like that's the offering for embodiment.
And how are you feeling now at this point in this? The book release is about to be released in New York City. How are you feeling about everything?
I'm going to do my celebrations in New York. The book is released. There's a global release on November 28th. Woot, woot. I'm so excited about that.
That's so exciting.
It's the day after this episode releases.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I'm holding these multiple truths of what's happening, the present moment of what's going on in our world, what's happening in Palestine, the constancy of the horror and the grief. And, because I'm a grief doula, so navigating those things with other people, those big, powerful and scary feelings and helping folk to locate themselves in it. And so, there's that, and there's grief there, and there's joy about my book, and there's joy about my family being well, and I'm well, and there's joy about being in love, and on that journey of relationship, and also, there's this community and collective grief that we're all moving through. So it's multiple truth holding, but I can say that I'm well and I feel good in my body, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you for saying multiple truths, because that's one thing that I've been struggling with, especially to how to put to words the grief and the horror and compassion for everyone who's suffering right now in the wake of what is happening in the Middle East. And it's I really appreciate hearing that, saying that multiple things can be true. You can be horrified by what happened to the people in Israel, and horrified by what is happening to the people in Palestine. And you can have and the people that are affected here in the United States, the anti-Semitism and the Islamophobia, and also find moments of joy, that all of these things can be true.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Every
Well,
word you just
they have to be, right? Because we, all of these, throughout our lives, we experience various forms of grief, of struggle, of trauma, alongside moments of joy. And if we don't allow ourselves to have moments of joy, then we just become so heavy, And I think that, something that I've learned in my lifetime in processing grief is that was one of the mistakes I made early on in the grief. Like when I was, first coming to terms with various forms of grief when I was younger, was feeling guilty for having joy alongside grief. Right. And so I think there's something so important about, not just with joy and grief, but, anger, happiness, any of it. Like we can hold two things at once, and it's important to, otherwise we're imbalanced.
Well, we can hold 17 things.
Exactly. We can hold all the things.
We can hold all the things. I think the practice is in, again, in this whole notion of locating yourself in it. Like, where are you? How are you caring for yourself so that you can hold these things, so that you can show up for the lives that you've chosen, the life you are continuously creating for yourself. And that's daily practice. So, yeah, multiple truths of this moment are confounding folk. It's really difficult, no matter what position you hold, or where you're standing, your perspective of things. The horror is horror, and we are porous beings, and we're affected by it. And I also know that the joy is so profoundly important. The things that bring us joy are medicine. And if we can service and source that medicine and bring it into the work we're doing every day, that makes a difference as well. A difference to community. I think it makes a difference to, the collective. I do. I think it's powerful medicine to also be able to bring joy, and bring it to your work and bring it to what you're doing.
So tell us more about Vibration of Grace. So this is a book that's about the power of sound to heal and transform people. Mm-hmm. But first of all, how is sound a healing modality? How does that work?
Oh my goodness. It is, sound is also science. Like, there's so much science that backs the efficacy of sound on the body, right? Like sound waves disrupting cancerous cells, for one. That's some work that's been done for many, many years. And there are different tools that are being created using sound waves, or the vibration that is emitted from someone's body to judge and hold where they may be in their health and what they might need. Everything from folk who have seizures, so detecting a seizure that may come on to the health and well-being of your heart, right, at any given moment. My point of entry for sound and for sound healing has always been spiritual. A spiritual one. My shaping around sound came very young, and from my people singing and sounding into bodies to calm the spirit, humming to soothe whatever may be happening with you, whatever is difficult around a conversation or emotionally, or also, in this country, language was often, of course, dangerous. So you could make sound, you could moan, you could sing in tone. And also we communicated with each other like that, when we couldn't use words. I'm talking about the specific experience of African American people in this country, and enslaved peoples, and how a moan, and how it was held and who was doing it would let you know who died, who was born, where to meet, what was happening. Like, we communicated through sound, we communicated through song. And my folk particularly have always used sound and song to minister as a ministry, to caretake the community, to caretake ourselves. And so, but sound predates me. It's an ancient modality, the drum, the didgeridoo, bells, sound, the sound of the voice, the sound of prayer, the sound of chanting, sounds in nature. We've been working with sound for healing and as a healing modality for so long. All you have to do is scratch the surface a little bit and do some research, and there it is. Moving throughout many different communities, and so for me, sound and the spirit grace, the entity, the presence, the energetic of grace in my life, guiding me to tone into my body, to take care of myself. To nourish and nurture a safe space in my being because my body wasn't safe. That's been with me since I was 5 years old.
If you're willing to share, at what point did you recognize that was something that you could share with others? You've been very open about your journey with how sound was helpful at healing for yourself. Yeah. But was there a moment in which you were able to use this technology, for lack of a better word, to help and heal others?
Yes, and I think that's a great word. I love the notion of spiritual technologies.
Yay!
Me too, right?
Resonates in my being. Yeah, I can remember the day. I remember the moment. I had been. Oh gosh, it happened because there was someone in my home that was having an emotional breakdown, it appeared to me. I was having a gathering, so I love Christmas. I love Christmas Eve. My mother loved it. And so it makes me feel very connected and close to my mama, who is no longer with us. And so I was having one of my parties, which, folks would come. All my friends would show up and fill my little apartment. And some folks showed up that I didn't invite. But I knew in community, and I'm shaped by, if folks show up at your house, you invite them in, give them a plate. And one of these folk, at the end of the night, it was 3:00 in the morning. My daughter, I thought, was asleep. I found out later she wasn't. And this woman was weeping and wailing, and I was torn. I was thinking, I'd like you to leave. Because my daughter and caretaking, what I felt like was my personal space. And then I had a very strong knowing that I could also be of service to her. So I chose service. I asked her permission. I sat her down. I began to do on her body what I had always done to mine, which is toning and laying hands on my own body. So I did that, and she quieted, and then she got very still. And, she left, she thanked me, and then she started telling people about it. And people started to call me. I hear you do this thing. And I thought, what is happening? It was just my private way of soothing my body. I didn't think about it as a modality that I could share. Courtney, I didn't really think about it. Like I really it was something that I accepted, like the shape of my face, and it was mine. And then it dawned on me, oh, this could be service, I'm from the People's Republic of Brooklyn. In my Brooklyn, there were no chakras, and there's no Om, and, there's no yoga. Not in my neighborhood. Like, you get beat up if you mention the word yoga. Right? So I thought that it was almost like, it was just too woo, as they say. It was too woo-tastic for me. I thought, oh no, I can't do this with people. This is my thing. But I listened to spirit. I was guided by grace. No, it is time, and you can do this. And so I started offering sessions, and I looked for teachers. I had no teachers. Grace is a teacher, and I found books, but I really didn't know how to do energy work with folk, And so I learned through trial and error. The error would be, the sessions don't have to be 2 hours long. They really don't. Right. You could work with someone for 45 minutes. And I realized that, like, I just got really clear and more focused as time went on. And I learned how to take care of my body, because for a while I would have other people's dreams, or their grief would move and come into my body. And, I had to learn boundaries. I learned, but that's how it happened. Like, I don't believe in anything that is accidental. I feel like things are ordered. And so this person came to my home, so that I could do this work with them. And then they told folk, and here we are,
And the universe was like, and all these people are here, so you're going to do this now. And you're like, oh, yeah, I am going to do this now. Yeah. I mean, it's really, I think that, I know for me, like when I'm really aligned in my life, like all the things start to fall into place really quickly. So like, it's so clear to me that like that moment, you were so aligned with the path you were supposed to be on that it just like kind of the doors open when you get to that space. When we get out of our own way, whether it's accidental, whether it's intentional, but when we're able to see that. And I love that's how that started. Like, that's just a really like, I don't believe in coincidences in that way. I think that was such a meant to be moment for you to be able to have that realization so that you could pass this on to so many people.
And also the fact that you said through trial and error, because there's a lot of, especially people that are new into magic and spirit and witchcraft, and they're like, well, how do I do it? I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to make a mistake. And that, that there's absolutely is a space for there to be quote unquote mistakes within magic or in spirit, and say, no, this it's a process. It's a skill to learn. It's a craft.
You're
going to make mistakes. That's part of learning.
It is absolutely part of learning. I feel you on that. And there's some work that I am very clear about that I don't want I encourage folk not to do with other folk until you have had somebody teach you, like soul retrieval. In my book, I work with soul retrieval in my practice, but I started on my own body for years. And there is a ritual for soul retrieval in the book, and lots of instruction around this is a private practice. You are working yourself through this. Do not take another person through this practice unless you are a learned practitioner. So there are some rituals that I say, please don't open that door with other folk. Like, it's fine to sit with yourself and know your own boundaries around a thing and trust your body wisdom. It's quite something else to do it with someone. You're opening up spaces you don't know how to close, right? Or you don't know how to guide folk through. So I do feel that way about, some things. Just in my own work, there's this accountability, with sitting with someone and guiding them into these rooms and then inside of themselves, right? That takes practice. And if I hadn't done the work on my own body, a lot of the era was really on my own body. Like, I would never try to sit and hold with someone that if I was not going to be directly guided through grace, if I didn't have a sense of it, that I would be able to, walk this walk with you all the way through. And the arrow would be, oh, Gina, you didn't clean off well, or you didn't prepare well, and the impact of that on my body and on my psyche. And so that was more of like where the training was. But all of the rituals I've ever done with folk, I've done on my own body first for so many years.
So tell us a little more about the structure of the book. Now, you mentioned that there's some rituals and there's also some, it sounds like there's some practices that are recommended for the more learned practitioner. But tell us a little bit more about like what people experience when they open the cover of Vibrations of Grace.
I invite folk in, and thank you for the question, Courtney. I invite folk into understanding the container that we've created. So if the first question is, dear family, the first, sentence is, let me tell you about the space you've entered, right? And then I go on to talk about the practice of channeling and receiving word from spirit, and how, according to the guidance from grace, all of us are able to do that. We all can receive messages from spirit, that we all are able to, through some practice or turning toward, access what may be there for us. And, not to debate channel, or where you may fall in what you believe or not believe, but just knowing that, that you have a power, that you walk with a power. That you walk with body wisdom. And so opening the book and moving through the rituals, my hope, my intention is to help folk cultivate this relationship with their sound. If you are blessed and able to access your voice, and with vibration, with how vibration of a word or a thought or a narrative, or the sound of your voice, or your hand on your body, or your movement in the world, how that is a power. It is a power of creation. It is also a power of dismantling. We all know how the weight of a word can shift how we feel, or the power of the word can open up worlds within us, of possibility, or order our steps, right? So, what I want you to find in the book are these rituals. I use rituals and practices kind of interchangeably sometimes, that are all designed to guide you into a sense of your own divinity, the possibility that I know exists within your cells, in your lineage, in your line, your time here, in this realm. I have it on high authority that we all have a position to hold and a role to play in this time of transition, of the great transition that we all are in. And so this book guiding us into the power of an organic response that so many of us stifle, for all these reasons. Like there are all these reasons around legacies of grief suppression that I touch on in the book a bit, but mostly guide folk to like, how has your shaping impacted you? And how do you get yourself out of the narratives that say you don't deserve, or you're not able to, or you're too blessed to, or whatever the narratives are, or keep it moving, or, grief letting is not a powerful place to stand. All of those things, to a place of, let me source this energy and see what I can create from it. What kind of systems can I create from this grief, that I'm feeling? Systems of care, systems around service, teachings, my own personal walk in the world. And so that is what I'm praying that this book will offer. And then there's like affirmations, the sound of your voice shifting narratives around what you're capable of. Right? Affirming something that you wish to actually embrace, and dismantling and releasing and evicting narratives that don't actually have anything to do with who you actually are. May have been planted in your body, years and years and years ago, but still dictate how you move in the world. What is the authentic thought? What is righteously yours? Who you be? Unfettered and out from under trauma. So,
well, I had the pleasure of, our paths connecting a handful of times as you were working on this book, and you've worked with people in physical space for years. But I'm curious for you, what was the journey of moving this this process, which is very, very hands-on, and very much in the body, to the page? What was that journey like for you?
It was, oh my God, it was challenging. It was amazing. It was empowering. It was devastating. It was everything. It was everything. It was revelatory. It was, God, I just going to go to bed with some ice cream and not talk to anybody for 2 days. It was, it was freeing. And now that I'm on the other side of it, and it actually is something I can hold in my hands and hold it against my heart, I feel so proud of it. I feel proud of myself. I find myself longing for missing my mama, because I know she would be so proud and so happy. And I do feel her, but I would love to see the look on her face as she's opening the book and holding it in her hands, and talk to her about it, about the healing of the generational line, about the grace of that. So yeah, it just continues. And I mean, we're gonna go to New York, and I will hold the book and open it and actually read from it. Like, what is that gonna feel like? So I'm like, okay, like I'm yet to have all of these experiences. I'm going to teach folk from the book. I'm going to, create, like retreats from the book. It's already in the works, and things I don't even know, like what will folk do? Might someone else create? It's just, the possibilities are amazing, and that's kind of settling in as well. And, but throughout it all, the constant feeling is gratitude. Like, even when it, I mean, I literally cried every day, right?
I believe it.
Like, holding these memories and moving through. And again, like what I talk about, like going into these rooms where horrific harm happened to my body, and sourcing what is medicinal, right? Where the wound allowed spirit to enter, allowed grace to enter, and also allowed healing to enter, and then take it and use it to be of service to other people. Like, that's awesome that I get to do that, and that I get to talk to people about harm that has happened that doesn't have to keep happening 10,000 more times. You know what I mean? Like, you get to own your body again. It takes practice. It takes daily practice often, but it is like the exchange for embodiment,
How has your perspective on your work changed in the process of writing, if it has at all?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. It has changed. It's expanded. It has the possibility of what this work can do has expanded for me. Like, it's like the horizon has become, I don't know, bigger, wider, more depth to it. Because I'm also surrendering to, it's going to have a life that has nothing to do with me anymore in ways, you know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense, right? Like, it will always have my name on it, but it's going to live and live and live, and folk will get it. And I'm like excited about what will be created because of it. And it just reminds me that, how inextricably linked we all are, so the perspective is that there's endless possibility, I think, Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that you mention in the book is a soul tone. And I'm curious, does everyone have one? And if so, I mean, first of all, what is it? And then, maybe a little bit about what's the journey like to finding that soul tone?
Yeah, that's so funny, Courtney, because really, how I did this work, right, is every night I literally was like, okay, what are we writing about tomorrow, Grace? Because I would wake up.
Yeah.
So when I woke up with soul tones, I was like, what is happening right now? And then, like, you start to download, you receive. I mean, you all know, you start to receive the technology, you start to see it. My partner is like a very, like, gorgeously brilliant, anchored, and I think really good at the linear, where I get not so good at the linear. Like, my thoughts can move in swirls, and then I'm back and forth. And so I was like, especially that section, I was like, could you please read that? And she read it and she understood it. So I was like, okay, I can release this into the world, right? And so the soul tone is the energetic, the sound that you make, that you vibrate. Folks already know about it. They'll use the language of the energy that you bring into a room, right? That has a sound, right? That has a sound, and it has a vibration, and it has a tone, and it has and so, like, this thing about locating your soul tones as it comes through the ritual through my altar, because I have a feeling like there's many paths to this, but as it came through my altar, it's the sound or the tone that will help to calm your spirit, that will help you feel aligned, right? I think so many of us do this already, like that part in the song where your spirit just starts to soar. Right? Those connection of notes, right? Where you turn it up real loud and you're singing, for me, it would be in my car. A tone or a sound that calls to you, that you can lean into. And we share soul tones, right? But the way that it shifts is how it impacts the body. It is something that we all absolutely walk with. We all vibrate. We all make sound. And learning what those sounds are with intention, like being conscious, when you're listening and like, oh, this is where I start to feel like I can move some grief. Right. This is the moment in the song, in the sound, in the notes, right? What notes? Like, so the rituals in the book take you through the C major scale, And I talk about the pentatonic scale, but I live into the C major scale because we are, a lot of us are tuned to that sound in this country, particularly. It is the do, re, mi of it all, solfege, you know. And so in the audiobook, there's like, this is one of the chapters where there's accompanying audio. I mean, there is an audio book that's coming as well. But some of the chapters you can just like, check that QR code and hear me guide you through, the C major scale, right? So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and like each note and guiding each person to live into the note. You don't have to consider yourself a singer or think you have a good voice. Like it's none of that. It's leaning into the note. If you are able to repeat the note or sing it to yourself or lean into the sound of my voice as I do it. And it's locating which note on the scale. We just keep it with like the C major scale that your spirit responds to. Right. And then leaning into that note and intertwining the note with an affirmation or a word that vibrates on a high level or your own name. Right. And then using that to bring solace to your body or move grief or work with and hold a memory or whatever it is that's up for you. And so there's some rigor involved. This is a practice, right? And I take folk through it. We also work with solfeggio tones, which are these, there's no way of measuring when solfeggio tones began, but it's a frequency, particular frequencies of tone that impact the body in generally similar ways, right? And so, you know, we talk people through and take them through, we as in me and Grace, through the solfeggio tones as well, and invite folk to listen before you go and do the research around what each tone is supposed to be for. Because I'm also like, yeah, that's the general knowing, but how does it land in your body? And then the same thing, like lean into the tone. How does it impact you? Does it make you feel possibility? Does it make you feel sad? Does it help you work with anxiety? Right. You know, and you know that by the way you feel when you're listening and leaning in. Right. So yes, everyone does have a soul tone. And I also think, I think that as we progress in our lives, that the tones can change. I also think that it's part of how we recognize each other. Like we resonate, like, you know, like, there's something about you that feels familiar to me. I think I'm recognizing, your soul tone, like our soul tones are aligned, which actually has nothing to do with how the relationship will go, right? So not to be confused. It's just a memory and here we are again, because that's part of my belief system that we keep coming back and we keep getting to work things through. My meeting you and knowing you and recognizing how you sound, is how I know, that there's something else here for me, to learn about myself, about love, about living, that we're still going to be able to work out this journey. So, yeah.
As someone who, I like to say, self-medicates with music, meaning just typical music, whatever's on my different playlists and things like that, I almost feel ridiculous in the fact that I have not utilized music in a more healing capacity. And the irony to that is that when I had preeclampsia in my first pregnancy, and the doctors were just clamping at the bit to put me on bed rest. And they're like, the second your blood pressure goes up, we're putting you on bed rest. And I couldn't afford it. I didn't want to be on bed rest. And so I would listen to calming, relaxing music all day, every day. And my blood pressure never shot up until it was past the point that she was fully developed and we could get her out safely. And so something in me knew, right? Like music is what's going to get you through this.
That's right.
And it did. And I almost feel silly and hearing what you're saying and how it just completely resonates with me and just makes so much sense to me. how I haven't incorporated that more into my own spiritual practice is such a miss. You know what I mean? Because and I think a lot of other people might also really connect with this, because I think there's a lot of people that we use music, right, to affect our mood, to help our mood, to get us out of a funk, to calm us down, to make us feel good, right? It's such a kind of strangely powerful force in your life, and to think that you can really tap into that to work on self-care in your practice, I think is, for me, this is like a mind blow moment for me. This is going to change. There's certain things that we learn about on the podcast and we have through the years where I'm like, this one thing is going to change my practice. And I can tell you right now that this one thing is going to change my practice.
Oh, awesome.
Welcome to Gina Breedlove being in your life. That's what happens.
I know, this is what happens. This is what happens. If you are lucky enough to be around Gina.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing about your daughter. And yeah, we come to things as we come to them. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
So, a question that one of the things that we've been working on recently with our own work as podcast hosts is thinking about accessibility. And so I'm curious about if you've worked with folks who are deaf or hard of hearing and how they might or they tend to utilize this work.
Oh, I love this question. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I appreciate y'all doing that work. It's so important. And I've had the grace of working with, I've had 2 folk come to my table that were actually deaf and mute. And so I don't sign. I had to work with an interpreter. I don't know that language. And so through an interpreter, we talk through the sense of vibration in the body, and I sounded into the body. And through the interpreter, we talked about where I was sensing where grief was in the body. And it was just, for me, it's a uniquely amazing experience to I talk about vibration and I feel the sense of it, and it is absolutely something that I understand, like the vibration of a word, the vibration of a thought, the vibration of a narrative. But to do that work with someone who could not hear the sound of my voice but still see the medicine of the vibration, of the intention, and of the sound taking root. It was just wonderful. And so to that end, the book, Vibration of Grace, is very much tailored for folk who are able to make sound, and who are able to hear. There is a book in me, gosh, to say it, to even think about it, writing it. But there is a practice, let's say a practice and a ritual that is coming even now about how to work and how to guide folk who cannot hear and cannot speak, or who cannot hear but can speak. But definitely it's the hearing, it's the receiving of the sound and receiving the sound in that way, to do sound healing rituals with folk. And it's coming. I don't have it yet. I can talk about, but it wouldn't be from my altar, but I know that tapping the body, that feeling the vibration of your own hand on your body and tapping out rhythms. I've heard that is really a beautiful practice. I've never done it. I've only heard about it. So, this book is absolutely for folk who can hear, and I am working on rituals that you can do on your own body, and you don't have to be able to hear. Downloading that right now.
No, thank you for that. As we're drawing to a close, I can't remember, Gina, if I told you this, but you were in the original cast of The Lion King on Broadway, right? Weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was.
Yeah. I went and saw that with my high school theater trip, and we attended a talk back with the cast.
Mm-hmm.
Did we ever talk? We ever discuss this?
No, we haven't.
No,
oh
we
my
haven't.
God. Do you think it was at the same time? Because that would be
it
wild.
Because we saw the original cast, and so unless you were not, You were not there that night.
Well, what year was it? That's the thing.
It was 99.
I left. No, I was gone by then.
Oh, you were gone by then. Oh no. I was sitting here. I was like, oh, we could have been in the same room. We were having this because I remember having a very profound moment with one of the actors is of course I asked the question. I'm like, what's your advice about getting on Broadway? Because that's what I want to do. And this one young woman who was in the chorus was like, I'm going to talk to this girl right now. And was just giving me all this really powerful. And she and I kept locking eyes and nodding even after the question. And I went on. I'm like, I think Gina's part was bigger than that. So I'm pretty sure this was a young woman in the chorus, but what if it was the same person?
I love the idea, but it wasn't me because in 99 I had Cree.
Oh, that's right.
So I was with the cast for 2 years. And then I left, and then I did the road tour for a while. I did the national tour, but you did see the original cast. I was the first person to go. And the original cast was still there, and everybody was just equally exquisite. I mean, no matter what position they were holding on the stage, everyone was just fantastic. I mean, I'm so happy you had that experience.
I did.
One of the best. I mean, even though it was hard on the body.
I bet it was really difficult. The movement in that show is really intense.
Yeah, and the costume, it was the costuming, and it was like I have very fond memories of the cast and doing that work. So I'm happy you experienced that, Courtney. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was wonderful. All right. Well, our final question is, what is coming? I mean, you mentioned that there's other rituals coming through you and you don't want to call them a book yet, which I completely understand. But what else do you have coming up? And where can people find you? Or if people are local, how can they attend your incredible book launch and book tour?
Thank you for that question, darling. My website is the best place. I'm doing a 21-day community practice. I'm talking to folk about that now. I'm going to start really posting about it in earnest and inviting folk to sign up. It begins you'll appreciate this. Y'all will appreciate this. The first new moon of the new year.
Yay!
So, yeah. On January 11th, we'll begin a 21-day community practice. I'm inviting folk. You'll have to have the book because it's called Your Sacred Presence, and it's in the book, and it's an offering to folk. There'll be daily videos to check in and help folk to move through the rituals. And then 3 Zoom meetups where we'll come together and share in community. How is this landing in your body? You have any questions for me? That kind of thing. So that's coming up. I have some local things and some things in that I'm doing. I'll be in New York. I'll be in Atlanta. I'll be working on North Carolina. The site is the best place to keep step with me.
All right. Well, Gina, thank you so much for being with us today. As always, it's every bit as healing for us as I know it's going to be for the people who are listening. And thank you. Thank you so much. And good luck and many blessings on all the moments that unfold now that this book is in the world. And may you get some space to breathe over the holidays.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank each of you for your time and your presence. And
oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this.
Amazing.
This is such beautiful. It's just such important work, and I'm really excited for the book. So excited.
I'm so pleased. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Be good to yourselves, and we'll see everybody next week. Thank you for listening to That Witch Life podcast. Our music is by Dustin Schultz, editing by Corey Drake. If you like what we do, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee or check out our merch on our Etsy store or join us on Patreon for bonus content, ad-free episodes, or to join our Witch Squad. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For show notes, audio transcript, or to ask us a question to answer on a future episode, go to thatwitchlife.com. Until then, keep moding that shit. We will talk to you next week.